This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Sportsminute. And tonight, I'm joined by my two co-hosts for the evening. We have that first guy that we call Mr. Crispy Bacon. Crispy, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. It's been a triple threat of, Texas sports with Rangers playing today. You had the Stars in playoff action. You got the Mavericks playing their game, and so far 2 out of 3 teams, now Dallas teams, have won their games. Still waiting on the Mavericks, but hopefully that will be a victory too.
All right, and then of course, Mr. Big Game James, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, there's so many answers I have for you, but I just feel awful. My voice is kind of back, and the Clippers are letting me down, so it sucks right now against the Mavericks.
Hey, I just want to have a basketball team to where I know what it feels like to be in the playoffs.
That's true. That used to be the Clippers.
Because at least right now, you guys can actually know what it feels like. The team that I like, I don't even know what it feels like to be in the playoffs. So kudos to you guys for being able to do that. Anyway, rolling into our first topic, I think that this one will actually make Crispy Bacon rather happy, because this first topic actually kind of belongs to Crispy's team. And Crispy, you probably know where I'm going with this. I'm just saying. And there's a reason why I'm talking about this. So, without further ado, bingo! Look, it's that man that we call Mr. Zeke Elliott. We had to we had to bring it up. And really, because Crispy, since you're a big Dallas fan, we know last year Tony Pollard kind of took over for Zeke Elliott, because, and I'm not saying that you being a Cowboys fan, we're saying this, but there was a lot of Cowboys fans out there that were saying that they were happy when Tony Pollard took over as the lead back, because they were okay with Zeke walking, because you knew that over the last several seasons his numbers just dwindled down. His numbers just kept dwindling and getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And his numbers weren't great in New England. But again, his quarterback was Mac Jones, so what do you expect? But anyways, so with you being a Cowboys fan, and you know that Zeke is now making his reunion with Dallas, how does this make you feel as a Cowboys fan?
As a fan, I like him coming back. I know he has a connection with Dak, and and a lot of the teammates that are there. As somebody looking on it like production value, yeah, he's probably going to be the short down back, getting those 1 or 2 yards. I mean, there's still moments where I see he still has speed, but I don't know if he has too much of that. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, though. I
Yeah,
think,
he's definitely not going to be your. He's not going to be a running back now. That's going to get you 1,000 yards.
and I think too that, and we saw it, or I saw it with like Barber and Julius Jones and all of them. Being the featured back, you get tired easy, and having all those plays, it kind of wears you down, and that's kind of what happened. I don't know.
Well, I think I think as time went on, I think Zeke got bigger. He kind of now I'm not saying it was like an Eddie Lacy type bigger, but his production really dropped down. Like you could clearly see his yards per carry drop down. He started fumbling the ball more, and Dallas was like, "Yep." Especially after they gave him that extension, like they extended him, they gave him a huge contract, and then
Yeah, and he
and then it
sat
really
out.
dropped off. Yeah,
You pulled
and
in
then
Emmett Smith.
yeah,
Emotionally.
and then he dropped off, and then Dallas was like, "Okay, we're gonna go ahead and cut you." And then they
Yeah,
cut him, and then he goes to New England for a year, and now he's back with Dallas. And so it sounds like to me, with you being a Dallas fan, it sounds like you're okay with that.
I
Um,
mean, if it's gonna help, it's great. But I'm mixed about it.
I tend to tell you I don't know if it's gonna help. I really have mixed emotions about that part.
I do too. Yeah.
I really don't know how much that's going to actually help. Um, James, what's your thoughts on the return of Zeke Elliott to Dallas?
I was kind of shocked, but then I was kind of like, yeah, you want to go to a place where they remember your name, and maybe you could catch a little bit of some spark there. So I guess I wasn't shocked by that, but just recited him. He's only 28 years of age. He's of course best friends with Dak Prescott, and that has never wavered. So that's good for them. You look at the running back room. Uh, all I know is what's his name? Royce Freeman and Deuce Vaughn. The rest of them I don't really know. So if Elliott wanted to, he could take that room over and take the starting job. But like you guys mentioned, he's really not the same. He doesn't have that force when he ran or that power. He doesn't have that either. So that's the only thing. Cowboy fans may expect him to be, the old Ezekiel Elliott, but no, he's just older in that way in mileage. Also, I think what would help if they did it in the season again when they had a dumb play like they did the last time we saw Elliott in the Cowboy uniform in the playoffs. I think that'll help if they don't do that play where they're by themselves and the play goes for nothing. I think that would be better
That was funny.
if they helped, if they did something positive and won a playoff game.
Yeah, I
Or
still
two.
don't. Even though you're bringing that up, it reminds me like that play just flashes in my head now. Zeke lining up his center, and he's the only one on the offensive line. I'm like, what the?
That's what ran him out here the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I was,
Oh,
I
you
was like,
did that? You're out of here.
yeah, I was like, what? Like, what the heck happened?
By the way, Prescott, this is his last year before he's a free agent, right, Chris?
Yes.
At the
Wow.
moment, yeah.
But I don't know if they're gonna. Honestly, I look at Dak, and I don't know if they'll actually re-sign him. I don't
I,
know.
I look at Jerry Jones as like if he says, like the whole thing of we're all in. Yeah, reverse that theory. You're not.
Right? Yeah. Well, and
Yeah, it's gonna get that contract. No, he's not.
the way I think about it is like I think it's gonna base off of this season. I think it's gonna be how this season goes. If Dak comes out and plays well and maybe wins him a playoff game, then maybe. But if he doesn't play well, there's no way he's coming back.
He'll get the contract if he makes it at least to the conference championship. He doesn't necessarily have to win it. I think just getting him there.
If they make the playoffs again, I would think they would give him whatever.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
Maybe.
and then the price will go up as you win those playoff games.
Yeah, and I just don't know. But again, that's why we were bringing up the thing of Zeke, because does Zeke put him over the top? I don't think so. I really don't think it does. But again, Zeke knows Dallas well, so I guess it's kind of cool to see him back in Dallas. I know. I don't know. Just an opinion. It's kind of cool to see him back to where he started. I don't think this will be his last hurrah, because if I remember right, and Crispy, you would probably know that too. Didn't they sign him to a 1-year deal?
It's a 1-year deal, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 1-year deal for like $3
So-
million or something.
So basically, you got Dak and Zeke for 1 year.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I thought it was, because they're paying Zeke like $3 million, I think.
Right.
They didn't give him very much at all, if I remember right. I just wanted to make sure that I was accurate about that.
Yeah, you're
All
right.
right. That's what I wanted to make sure. All right, well, this next topic we have, James, I had to. It's not terrible. It's just I want to read you a comment that Stephen A. Smith said.
Oh, no.
And it was about Mike Trout. And he said, "What the hell are you doing to take care of yourself? Always injured. I mean, damn, it's baseball. What are we talking about here? It's not football. It's not boxing. It's not the UFC." So,
Just kidding.
so James, I'm going to ask you, as an Angels fan, this
Yikes.
comment that Stephen A. Smith makes, how does that make you feel? Like, do you agree with the comment that he's making?
No, of course I don't. The only thing is, I'd also say stay in your lane. Like, really, the only time you talked about baseball, if you're Stephen A, is when you talked about Shohei a couple of times of the year, around the trade deadline, of course, on the All-Star game, and he made some racist comment. So I hate the fact that he thinks he can talk baseball when really he can't. Like, him and Colin Coward are just idiots when it comes to baseball talk. But for the comments he's made here, I don't think Stephen A knows the preparation, the timing that you have to put your body through to hit an object and twist your body every time when you swing. And then to play the outfield like he's been doing all these years, I think that takes a toll on your body. Look, you could hit the ball off yourself and be out for a while just because of a bruise or a broken bone, whatever the case is. And yeah, Trout's had a horrible history injury since 2017. He's out pretty much every year. It's just, to me, I also want to blame the Angels training staff as well. They've had a change of it lately, but before they had pretty much the same guy around since 1979. And just seems like they never had new methods of health or whatever the case is. So I can see kind of what he means, but he probably doesn't know. He could talk to Aaron Judge, or he could talk to Juan Soto or anybody else about, being a baseball player and trying to stay off of that IL. I just wish he would stay in his lane before he says something like this. He can talk basketball he wants, but I'm never going to be listening to him when he talks like football or baseball or anything else, really. So that's just someone being ignorant, not knowing what the sport really does to someone.
No, I get what you're saying, but Mike Trout, I feel like he is always injured. I'm not saying what Stephen A. Smith is saying is accurate. I'm just saying that there's a reason why Mike Trout can't stay healthy. And I'm not sure what it is.
It's let's just say that it's a very expensive body wearing down. That's basically what it is. And it's just got every year. And it happens to the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend at Halos in the Infield mention it's kind of like Griffey at the end of his career. But the thing is, that happened when Griffey was like 34, 35, or maybe even younger. Or, I mean, older. For Trout, he's only 32. So that just means he's been through the ringer too much. And then for that, any little thing means a lot for him and just sucks.
Hey, how are you doing tonight? Welcome in the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Check them out. They're a great group of people and excellent and know their stuff. So welcome in. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, but do you foresee this as like we kind of mention this every year about Mike Trout, and we're always like, oh, is this the year that the Angels decide to pull the trigger on a trade for Mike Trout?
Well, the thing is, he has a no trade clause, so he would have to do it himself. And then the Angels would have to go try to get as much as they can for him. But then himself being injured, you're not going to get as much as you would back then in the day, probably like 2 years ago. Every year there's a new injury, and every year the trade value goes down. So it's up to him to put forth that effort to say, hey, if you really want to win, you got to go back to the East Coast. You know, both New York teams or Philadelphia. Plus, he grew up in New Jersey, so he might be open to Phillies trade or Yankees trade. I don't see the Mets, but that would be appropriate if he went to the Mets. But it's up to him. But I just don't see it happening. He's too comfortable in this Southern California weather. And the family's expecting another baby, so I just don't think they're gonna leave this lifestyle just because he wants to win. I just don't see that. He's too much of a nice guy, which is the problem if he does want to win.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've always thought too. Is I'm like, I feel like if Mike Trout wanted to leave, he would have left a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like even though the Angels are in rebuild mode, I still feel like he's potentially willing to stick it out. And kudos to Mike Trout. Kudos. But all right, Crispy, what is your thoughts on the Stephen A. Smith comment?
I mean, to a point, he is always injured, but we've seen different analysts who played one sport, not other sports, comment on topics like this, and sometimes they are right, but most of the time they're kind of out of their position on that sport. But I think if you covered football, you covered football. If you covered baseball, you covered baseball, and so on and so forth. And yeah, you have your opinion, but I don't know. I think it's a little inaccurate, but
Fair is fair. Fair is fair. I get it. James, I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to elaborate on.
I can't even spell elaborate right now, so no.
Okay, no, it's all
Okay.
good. It's all good. But I just saw this and I was like, hey, this is a cool topic because we know that sometimes Stephen A. Smith is very outspoken.
Very.
Stupidly.
I'm just saying. We know that sometimes he's very, very outspoken. Okay. Going into our next one here, we're going to shoot a 3-point shot on our next one. So, on our next one, since we're going to be shooting a 3-point shot, we're going to be talking about how the Nuggets just disposed of the Lakers, and they beat them in a series 4-1. I think, for one, I think a lot of people kind of saw this coming. But there was a lot of people, I'm going to say certain Lakers fans that were coming in saying, oh, yeah, this is the year that, the Lakers are going to win the championship again. LeBron James is getting his 5th. And they started saying, we want the Nuggets, we want the Nuggets. And I've always said, well, be careful what you wish for. And they got the Nuggets, and they got disposed of rather easily. Jamal Murray, absolute beast in the fourth quarter in this series, and several of the games. Clutch in this series. But now the big debate when it comes to it in this series was, what is LeBron James doing after the season? And they asked him afterwards, and they said, what is your plan? And his plan was, I don't know, I'm going to go home, hang out with my family, rest up, and we'll go from there. Now, people are saying that this was his final game as a Laker. They feel like he's going to end up opting out of his deal, and he's going to end up going somewhere else. So, James, after what you're seeing, maybe after what you're hearing, do you feel like this is it for James in a Lakers uniform?
No, I think he's gonna opt out of that 1-year player option, and then you'll hear rumblings of other teams. But then eventually the Lakers will give in, the brass will give in, and give him whatever he wants to play for a couple more seasons with the Lakers. I truly believe that, and I think they're going to manipulate it where Bronny James will get drafted, even though he does not deserve it whatsoever in the NBA. Not yet. I just see him staying, and then they have draft picks they could trade away to get like maybe Trae Young or some star out there that's struggling somewhere else to advance. But to talk about the series, man, the fact that the Lakers had big leads in almost every game and lost just but one is just sort of like last year. I mean, they were swept, but it didn't feel like a sweep. This series at times felt like a 7-game series, but it only went 5. The game that the Lakers won, I didn't catch, but it looked like they were in control at least once in the series and won. Something they couldn't do 2 straight years is, save a game and win it. After being up by so much, just having letdowns and not playing all 4 quarters, they ran out of time, and then they could not defend anyone. It would be interesting. You're looking at maybe a different series. They would still be playing it if Jamal Murray doesn't hit that jumper in game 2. But luckily he did, and the Nuggets moved on. And again, the Lakers, we'll see what they do with Darvin Ham. Sources say that he's gone. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened yet, but maybe they're taking their time with it. But the Lakers have to make some changes, maybe not having D'Angelo Russell out there and having some more changes. But how much more changes does LeBron need, man? It's just like, bro, you're supposed to win. You have AD, but he crumbles. Yourself, you're out here at 39 years old, you're 21, you're awesome, you're amazing, but you just can't complete games, and it's just weird. So, yeah, I believe LeBron is staying.
Okay, I was just really curious because there's quite a few people who think no, he's leaving. Like they're like, no, this was his last game as a Laker. He's gonna go play elsewhere. There's people saying he'll end up with the Golden State Warriors. the Phoenix Suns, and things like that. So that to me, I'm looking at that going, yeah, that's definitely not gonna happen. Um, yeah. But is he gonna leave the Lakers? I do think that that was his last game as a Laker. So I would agree with you, James. But on that one, I'm not. I really do think he ends up going somewhere else because I think he wants to go wherever his son goes. I think that's where he wants. Honestly. Uh, crispy bacon and
Yeah. Uh, I know you guys said that he's gonna go, where his son is gonna be drafted to, and I don't think it's gonna be, to the Lakers. I think that was his final game. But right now, it's, LeBron's gonna be his agent, so to speak. I think he's gonna do a lot of negotiating as far as, you know, where Bronny wants to go play, and then, also try to figure out how do you want to, work the contract. I think that's his job right now. Maybe it is to the Lakers, and LeBron can stay there, or it could be with another team. But I think it's going to be you're going to have to sign him as a tandem, so to speak, as a duo.
Sad Kun. I'm sorry, we don't know you, and we're not just gonna invite some random person on the podcast. If you want to be on a show on C2C, you need to reach out to us. All right. So the series, James, I do agree with you though that the series wasn't like it wasn't blowouts in the games. They were actually relatively close games. And the Lakers had a shot in that series. The Lakers had a shot. They did. They blew multiple big leads.
It's confusing about a team like this, but you can say, oh, they're really old, and then they don't have enough really good guys to play, and then you have young guys that aren't ready to go, who aren't ready to perform at the highest level. You can put all those factors in the blame. I I really enjoyed pretty much every game, other from the one I didn't see, just because I wanted the Lakers to lose. But Denver's showing that championship pedigree again, and I just love it.
Well, think about I just lost my train of thought there for a second too. I don't know where I was going with that, so I definitely apologize on that. Well, yeah, no. So one big thing is to like think about a few shots that even LeBron could have made
Yeah,
that wide open three, and he missed it. That was one that was like, okay, that was on him. He missed that shot, and Murray was clutch. Murray was clutch, and the Lakers weren't. Now D'Angelo Russell, think about him though. Like he had he had a phenomenal regular season, broke the Lakers single season record for threes in a season, and then came playoff time and nothing. It like the three the he couldn't make a three. He couldn't buy a three. Um, he made some, but it wasn't like regular season. So I'm not saying that was just on D'Angelo Russell. Like I think the Nuggets are just the superior team. I really think they are. If you had to ask me right now, I think the Nuggets are going to represent, and I think the Celtics are. I think it's going to be Denver against Boston. That's that's what that's what it's looking like right now. Because the Boston and Miami series wasn't that good either. But we kind of talked a little bit about that one, James. And again, why wasn't that series that good? Miami had a bunch of injuries, but do you think if Miami wasn't injured, do you think it would have made a difference against Boston? Honestly,
In that series, I don't. Just
exactly.
because Boston came in better offensively. And then defensively, I think they would have learned their lesson and get that revenge to Miami because they lost to them in the conference finals last year. And I think this time would have been very different. Miami, again, had to go through the play-in to get in. You can only do that so many times before it'll get to you, and it got to them injury wise. Boston just looks like the biggest threat in the East. We don't know about the other seeds right now because they're all questionable right now.
Yeah. So Crispy,
Yeah.
Boston and Miami. What'd you think of that series?
I mean, I didn't see all of the series. I saw the first game or two, and Boston looked like a tough team. I'm sure a lot of Mavericks fans were happy that Miami didn't make it.
I'm sure they were.
Bad feelings, haunted feelings from many years ago. But I think Boston's going to be a tough team. But any series can be a tough series. And yeah, Boston's good, but they could face any opponent who's tougher than them. And it just depends on how well they play.
All right. So, do you have Boston representing?
I do.
All right, James, did you say you had Boston representing also?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week too, and there's really no one else I could think of. Seeing New York drop their game against Philadelphia at home, making the game six happen. The opposite with Milwaukee Indiana with Milwaukee.
Yeah. Which
Man, I just hate that because those are two teams that could have just um, closed it out, but they can't yet. They haven't been together as much. So I think that's why Boston, you could trust them for now.
I do, however, feel like, and I know we mentioned it before we went live. I do feel like the Indiana and Milwaukee series. I do feel like it's over. I don't think that Milwaukee's gonna win. The two straight that they need. I don't think that they can. Um, so that's what I'm saying. I do believe that series is over. Um, I don't know if they're gonna have, because I believe it's still, we don't know if Dame's gonna be back. We don't know if Giannis is gonna be back, and without those two again, I think it's just too much to overcome. James, do you think it's possible for Milwaukee to come away with this in seven?
Oh, it definitely is, Ace, because they have the championship pedigree, or at least the playoff experience, despite being kind of empty-handed without Giannis for right now and without Lillard. You saw yesterday, as long as they're at home, they can make it happen, and that would only be the case if they win Game 6 in Indiana. Now, one of the games, a close one wasn't. They really have to show up to make a Game 7 happen. And then, of course, in Game 7, anything can happen. So they definitely have a shot. It's almost like a 50-50 shot right now. And, of course, it's a 3-2 series favoring Indiana. But you just feel like the momentum, if they come back and win or a couple games here, man, it's for Indiana. It's like, man, Indiana wanted to show Milwaukee, hey, we still own you, but they're just not as experienced. So that's why I think Milwaukee would have a shot.
Well, I'll tell you, if Portis and Middleton play like they did yesterday, they have a shot. I mean, Portis and Middleton both went off for 29. So but they have to have better play. And for even Patrick Beverly, like Pat Beverly gets a lot of flack, because he's not. And you can agree with me or disagree with me on this, James, but we know that Pat Bev is not the world's greatest shooter. We know that. Pat Bev is more of a defender.
Yeah, I know he's been working on it, and you can think of Bobby Portis Jr. and Grayson Allen. Those two worked with, and I have to give a great shout out to Lethal Shooter. He's on Instagram, and he works with these professional players. Because everybody shoots threes now because of Curry and Clay.
Uh-huh.
So he taught Bobby Portis Jr. and Grayson Allen how to, be proficient from 3-point land when they really weren't it before, and extended their careers. With Pat Bev, first thing is defensively, but also you can rely on him to have a knockdown 3-pointer. And I think he worked on it as well, seeing how the league is going. So yeah, if those two hit and then Beverly can hit, it's like, okay, we'll see if Giannis can come back and really make it interesting. So they got a shot at it, and I really enjoy watching Pat Bev. I don't care what team he's on.
Okay, so you are a Pat Bev fan then?
Oh yeah, when he was here with the Clippers for a couple of years, I really enjoyed him because that was the time, of course, that before the bubble, they had like no shot of making the playoffs, and he rallied that team along with others to make it happen. And ever since then, I just enjoy his story too, where he's undrafted, he played overseas, he made his way back here as a Houston Rocket, and that's where he first knew him, where he would do anything for the team, take some technicals and get into little things and really mess with the competition's head. And everywhere he's been a key contributor to that team. So you love to have that guy on your team and not facing him. So that's why I enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a reason why Pat Bev gets a bad name though. And I think
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I think the reason is because people look at Pat Bev and they go, "Oh, he's not the greatest shooter. He's not a guy who's going to put up 20 every night." But what he is Pat Bev is an excellent defender.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he does. But he still gets a very, very bad rap.
Yeah, he had some things with Russell Westbrook trying to undercut him and hurting him back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And those things just come with playoff intensity. Or just rivalries. And you just hope that's not a thing. But it's been proven that's what he is. Now, unfortunately, that's gonna, have him for years. It'll hurt him when he's talked about. But again, it's just like that thing where it's, hey, at least he's on our team, and he won't do that to any of us. But he'll do
Right.
it to the opponent. So you got to have a guy like him on your team.
No, I agree with that. I just thought that him and the other guy I'm about to mention is another guy who gets a lot of flack in the NBA, but rightfully so. And that's okay if you don't agree, but this dude deserves to get the amount of flack he does, and that's Ben Simmons.
Definitely.
Ben Simmons is a guy that, like, the guy even wears a shooting sleeve, and I'm like, why are you wearing a shooting sleeve? You don't even shoot the freaking ball.
That was like Dwight Howard. He wore 2 shooting sleeves. I just found that to be stupid.
Yeah, okay, so what is your honest opinion of Ben Simmons?
He's very confusing, but it's a mental side with him where he just doesn't want to play anymore. He feels like he got the contract. He feels like that's all he needs to do. He got the money. Someone has told him just to be the way he is. And he always had an issue with his always with his family, telling him what to do and guiding him down the wrong path. It's just funny how he can be so great. What is it? So great in the off season with all these workout videos, making all these shots, having a shooting game, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, I don't want to do that in the regular season. I don't want to try. It's not worth it. I'm getting paid all this money, and all I have to do is just sit there. So I'm good. And it's just a mentality you hate seeing. And I'm just I've been done with him for a while. At least Zion is out here trying, but injuries have derailed him. But Ben Simmons, I just wish there was a thing in the NBA where it's just like, hey, if you don't want to play, give you half of your contract and just go back to wherever you came from.
And I would definitely take a Pat Bev over a Ben Simmons any day. Any day. I'm just saying. Yeah, if you look at Ben Simmons' numbers throughout his career as he played, because when he came in the league in 17-18, he started with 15 points a game. And then 18-19, he had 16 points a game. Well, so it was 16.9 points a game. So it went up a point. And then 19-20, it went to 16.4. So it dipped a little bit, not too much. And then 2021 is when it dipped down to 14.3. And then 22-23 is when it dropped down to 6.9. And then 23-24, he played in 15 games and he averaged 6 points a game.
Man, I just hate the way his career has gone, and you just know you can't rely on him. And I just hope this is the last chance for him. It would be dumb if anyone was able to trade or sign him later on. I just wouldn't want to have him around. It's something mental. I really believe it.
It's something. I haven't figured out what it is, but we know he's played really, really bad. So we know that for sure. So the other part of the NBA, the other series that we can talk about here is the 76ers and Knicks. The 76ers got a big come from behind win against the Knicks last night. It kept them it gave them a shot. It kept them in the series. But we know again that they're also down 3-2. So that means that they would have to win 2 more consecutive games against the Knicks. I don't think the 76ers have enough. Embiid can only do so much. But now keep in mind yesterday, Embiid, he didn't have a great game. He turned the ball over a lot. Like he had 11 turnovers against the Knicks. And that's not normal Embiid. Maxey, I think he's a baller. He's a baller. Maxey really helped the 76ers win that game against the Knicks. So, James, do you feel like the 76ers have enough to where they can overcome 2 more games over the Knicks?
Ooh, I think they can. But man, we'll see how the Knicks come out after letting down there in the fourth quarter, beat up by 6 with so much seconds to go, and then allowing, a 3+1 and then a 3 by Maxey there. You just got to hope that they come out better. But Maxey, it's amazing how, when Harden was traded, it was like, hey, you're the second guy now. If Embiid can't do it, it's up to you, and he's taking that role very well. Embiid, it's a thing where, hey, maybe he's getting doubled too much, and he's trying to kick it out, but it gets turned over. And that's something that just comes with the Knicks and their defense. So the turnovers will be there. But the others have to do well, like Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield's not even playing. Kyle Lowry's barely playing. The one thing I do want to see tomorrow is less Knicks fans at Philadelphia. That was an issue, I think, on Sunday, where it sounded like a Knick game almost in Philadelphia. I know they're really close to one another, like 100 miles, I want to say, but I hope the Sixers have a true home court. I know they try to, take the Knicks fans out of it, but as long as they keep up with the energy and just start right away being good in games, start off well, they got a really great shot to force a game 7 in New York. And then, of course, like I say, anything can happen.
I mean, yeah, anything can happen. I'm just looking at that going, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm looking at the series now going, I don't know personally if the 76ers have enough. Maybe if Harden was still there, yeah, but I feel like Maxi's still kind of coming into his own. I'm not saying that Maxi's, a terrible player. He's not elite yet, but he does have to be that second guy. In the last game, he definitely was. When he got that three and one, and he ended up getting the 4-point play, which essentially put the 76ers back in there, which I guess the NBA came out afterwards and said, "Oh, we missed the travel from Maxey on that play." I don't know if you saw that, but the NBA did come out and they're like, "Oh, Maxey travel," and they missed it.
I think there was a situation like that earlier in that series where the Sixers got screwed on something, and the NBA put out that 2-minute report saying that they messed up. So it's kind of a make-up non-call there. So that comes and goes with the game.
No, trust me, I get it. It definitely comes and goes with it. Definitely. Crispy,
Yes.
76ers and Knicks. You taking the Knicks?
I'm taking the Knicks. Might as well. I mean, Philadelphia is kind of the up and down team, and I don't know. I'm just going with the Knicks.
All right. Crispy sticking with the Knicks on that one. James, and I know we kind of mentioned this a little bit before we went on the air also. We were talking about next round. One thing that we were really looking forward to the most, to me, the the series that I think could potentially be the matchup or the series of the playoffs is going to be the T-Wolves versus the Nuggets. I, for one, feel like that could go 7. It could go 7. Now, which way is it going to go? It could go either way. I'll take the Nuggets. I will just say that the Nuggets will win in 7. James, do you agree that this could be the best series of the NBA playoffs?
I'm gonna go Denver in 6. I just feel like something will hinder the Timberwolves unless they really get everyone together. Uh, Denver, even though they get behind, they know how to come back and win. With Minnesota, I know they did sweep the Suns, but the Suns were just discombobulated. Well, Minnesota, maybe it's like too much too early against a really experienced Denver team. But that's where Edwards is going to have to really, really score like he's been doing. Then Cat's going to have to do what he does. And then Gobert will have to deal with Jokic. And that'd be interesting, too. When you look at teams that have to go big against Minnesota, they really don't, and they get hurt. So I was looking up the certain matchups, right? Like, okay, who's guarding Anthony Edwards? If Aaron Gordon is guarding Cat, that's kind of a mismatch for each other offensively. After that, though, who's ever guarding Anthony Edwards, they're going to have a hard time. That's where you're going to have to double. Someone's going to be open for Minnesota. So that's going to be really, really interesting to note how Denver will guard Minnesota offensively. So a lot of emphasis will be put on Jokic and then defensively on Gordon because they're not going to go two centers. Denver won't. So we'll see how much that plagues them. But I still think Denver has that championship pedigree. Maybe Minnesota's time isn't yet. And they've been fun. And I just think Denver in 6.
Okay, all right. So you're saying Denver in 6. The one thing is I haven't really seen anybody that can cover Jokic. Like everybody who's tried to cover Jokic, they can't do it. The dude is absolutely insane. He clears the boards, hits threes, takes twos. I mean, I haven't seen one person that can cover him yet.
That's where Gobert is really going to have his hands full. And it would be a good thing if Jokic gets Gobert into foul trouble. You get him with some pump fakes, you get him in the air, and you get him to the bench early and then run it out. But the thing is, yeah, maybe Cat will get going, and then you have a hard time trying to guard him and Edwards. That's why I think that series is going to be offensively very fun, and it's just going to come down to foul trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, I'm just super excited about this series. I can't wait for this one to get started. Crispy Bacon, are you taking the Nuggets or are you taking the team?
I would like to see Minnesota win it, but I'm going to say Denver in 6. I'm sure it's going to be the matchup to watch in the next round of the playoffs. It's going to be a fun one. Hopefully Minnesota can win, but I'm going with Denver.
I feel it. It would be, I would be okay if Minnesota won it, but I got to go with Denver. Anyway, we're pretty much at that point now to where that wraps up the show. I'm glad that we got to do a little bit of NBA talk tonight. We don't get to do very much NBA talk, so I'm glad we got to tonight. So James, what final thoughts do you have for us?
I hope I'm on for Entertainment Hour Friday and on deck Sunday, and make sure everyone doesn't forget the Backyard Brew games on May 4th on Saturday coming up here. Check that out. And yeah, it was a great show talking about NBA playoff basketball. Sadly, we had to talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
I know it's sad. My apologies for that. All right, Crispy Bacon, what final thoughts do you have for us?
Oh, fun show. Good to talk sports, and make sure to tune in to the Backyard Brew games May 4th, this Saturday. So we'll have that streamed for you Saturday.
All right, and we definitely want to thank everybody for watching. It's been another fun show. You can catch us next Wednesday for another episode of Sports Minute. And tonight we will have the updated list on the Wheel of Death to see where everyone sits. So with that, everyone have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next week. So have a good night.